welcome back to TFT Fridays. Today we have the tier list for patch 15.7. Couple of weird comps out there. I know I say this often, but it really is true. Mech got really overbuffed, so that's by far the best comp. And then Neeko, Drop Blossom Neeko, is incredibly good too. That's not to say there aren't other things to play, but there may be like 5 or 6 comps you need to know in this patch, and that's pretty much it. It's weird, I know, because normally in the later parts of the set, there are more comps to play, but right now it's just those comps, Fast 9 and like Katarina. A lot of other comps, they're just there are more things to be desired, you know? It's not that they're bad or anything, it's just that they either got nerfed too much, the other stuff got buffed too much. So unless you get a super spot for something else, I highly recommend just sticking to these. So Mighty Mech, S tier, alone in S tier, probably S+. I think is averaging like a 3.75 right now at 7 Mech, which is pretty high. After that, we have Katarina. Very good 2-cost reroll right now. Probably one of the more fun comps to play, in my opinion. And then we have 2 Fast 9 comps, Bastion and Juggernaut. So Bastion's good because you could flex a bunch of different backliners, and Juggernaut's good because Lee Sin is really, really good. Lee Sin is kind of taking over a couple of different games on his different forms too, but mainly people are playing him in Juggernaut right now. After that, we have Kayle. Kayle's good because other people are going Fast 9. You can go Fast 9 sometimes also. And then lastly, we have Malzahar Heavyweights, mainly because the other heavyweight comps aren't really being played too much right now, so heavyweights are a little less contested. But a lot of other comps, like the veteran Janna comp from last patch, what else? The Crystal Gambit Malzahar, the Bastion Artifact Kog'Maw, Bastion Yasuo, those were really fun comps to play, and you definitely can still play them. But I will say stick to the S&As unless you get a super spot for some of them. What is a super spot? Well, for Bastion Yasuo, if you get Bastion Emblem, like obviously you can still go for it, and maybe you have a Yasuo 1-star already at the start of the game. That happens all the time, right? If you do still get like some of the crazy artifacts for Kog'Maw, I mean, we could take a look right now. We just do 3-star Kog'Maw, 3 items, and then his average placement is a bit worse, but that's only with regular items. Like a 4.0 for a 3-cost 3-star is horrible. It's not good. Definitely below average. But if you notice, Static Shiv 3.23, Dawn Core 3.36. It's just the normal items that aren't performing well on him. If you get the super artifact, you could still go for the Kog'Maw comps or like any of these other weird B tier comps. Because obviously if you get an artifact, it's pretty easy to tell what comp to go. But if you're playing Katarina and you haven't slammed any of the crazy Katarina items yet, you just have like maybe some tank items, maybe some random AP items, where you're going like Battle Academia start and then you just randomly get an early Yuumi. Like that happens every now and then, right? Like you can go for the Yuumi comp, but if you're just hard forcing Yuumi from the get-go, like I wouldn't really recommend that. But yeah, that's pretty much what the meta is right now. Apart from that, like Neeko's really good, but let's get into how to play each and every one of those important comps. Starting at the top, we have the Mighty Mech build. A lot of people have been asking me like, how do I get the Mighty Mech power up or the fruit? And it is hard to get, but I do have like a small guide down here that says how to get it. Like the easy way to do it without sweating too hard, because there are like really sweaty ways to do it. You can just put a fruit on a mech pilot unit and then sell it if you don't get it, and then keep trying to do it by finding new copies of them. But if not, Jarvan has the highest odds to see mech pilot, so you can use a few removers on him to find it. Also, 4 costs are difficult to find, so you don't want to be selling Jarvans. When I say sell a unit, I'm mainly talking about like Senna's or like a 2-cost unit. But if you do find it on him, you can fruit Aatrox for a guaranteed mech pilot. After that, you can use a fruit remover on Jarvan and then fruit Senna, as it's going to be guaranteed as well, because you don't want Jarvan to be inside the Mighty Mech. So there is like random sweaty text that you want to use, or I guess you could use, but if you're not sweating that hard to get the mech pilot power up, which is why this comp is powerful, you can just like sell Senna's until you get it. But if by your last fruit remover you do not have mech pilot on Jarvan yet, start buying and selling extra mech units found during your roll down to try to see your first mech pilot, blah, 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 place it on Aatrox and then Senna after you remove it on your Jarvan. So hopefully that section kind of clears up some random text to get mech pilot a little bit more than you normally would. If you have any more new text that you want to share with the class, definitely leave it down in the comments below. But that's kind of one of the more popular ways to do it right now. And who knows, there are some like hidden techs out there, because I do know a lot of world championship or regional final matches are being played right now. So even if you watch scrims or like a lot of scrims, sometimes these players, if they have some super secrets tech, they're not going to show it in scrims. They're just going to play as if they don't know it. And then once a tournament starts, then they'll start taking out these crazy techs. So nothing wrong with that. That's just how life works, right? Like if you know something super secret and if there's stuff at stake, then you probably want to maximize the benefit you can gain from it, you know? But yeah, apart from that, like the rest of the comp, it's just 7 Mighty Mech, nothing too crazy there. You could build aura items on the Mighty Mech. I like doing that, but you don't have to. Put leftover tank items on Jarvan, preferably the mana items, and then you could use Karma as a carry in the back line. Yone's going to be good later on. Yone did get buffed a bit, but you really just need the copy of Yone, like a 1-star copy, in order to get to 7 Mighty Mech. If you don't believe me on the stats on Mighty Mech, we could take a look right now. Type in Mech over here, and you'll see that like Mighty Mech 3.75 already. Absolutely crazy stuff. If you're stuck at 5 Mighty Mech, God bless your soul, but you're going to be apparently averaging 6.59. I'm going to be honest, I did not know it was that bad. Obviously, there's tons of biases in the data, but I haven't seen a number that high in a while when I've been looking at the Explorer tool. So that is absolutely crazy. Like, yeah, like not even Crystal Gambit's that bad. I don't know. I'm trying to think, like not even 5-star Guardian's that bad. Who plays 5-star Guardian? I've never actually seen that. I've only seen 3-star Guardian for Tiny Team, 2-star Guardian because you're using it as random units that you're using from that trait, or you're like 7, 8, or 9-star Guardian. Like I've never actually seen a 5-star Guardian team, but even that is better than whatever 5 Mech Pilot is. Like holy cow, I did not. You absolutely need Yone. Do everything in your power to get it. Use your champion duplicator on the enemy board. Maybe the game's bugged and gives it to you. Like I don't know, but you just need Yone. So how do you get Yone? Obviously, level 9 is going to be the way to do it. Like, if you're able to fast 9 into Mighty Mech, you pretty much win the game. But if you can't, you have to take it off Carousel or just be 1 life and hopefully you hit him. Like, I know that's kind of hard to do, but the comp is that good and it's worth it to do that because, yeah, you don't want to be stuck at 5 Mighty Mech. But stack a bunch of the mech items onto your mech units early on. I like slamming those items early. Like, it could be Rabadons, it could be Warmogs, it could be, like, even Sterix works. Ionic Spark is good, and the reason why you want to do that is because you're pretty much always going to be playing these Mighty Mech units, and whatever extra items you get, you could always put on your Karma or Jarvan later on. But next build up, we have the A tiers. We have Battle Academia reroll. This is best with Radiant items. Artifacts are decent as well, but only a few of them work. So if I had a 2-star Katarina, I take the Artifact Anvil because the ones that do work on her are extremely crazy good because obviously Zhonya's Paradox or whatever it's called is Edge and Night but AP version. But what you really want is going to be the Radiant items. Like Radiant Hand of Justice, nothing else comes close to that. Like we could turn this to 3-star 3 items. And then we'll see some crazy stats. 3.49, pretty good for a 2-cost reroll. So remember, like 2-cost 3-star should average higher than a 3-cost 3-star, right? Because it's easier to get. And we were talking about how insane like a 3.2 was on Kog'Maw, right? So 3.5 on a Katarina, 2-cost unit, extremely good. Obviously, Zhonya's good. Dawncore's decent. You can use Seekers, but after that, there isn't like too many other crazy ones. Like I'd much prefer to get a Radiant item than a artifact item. Like obviously there are still artifacts you can use, but you pretty much just want to pick an augment that concentrates power onto your Katarina. So whatever that is from your options, pick that, but ideally you get a Radiant item. But for everyone else, like you don't really care too much. Like worst case scenario, if you do take the artifact item, you can get like a crappy tank item on Rakan. Like it's not horrible, but it's not that great. But sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze. So I talked about this before, but the most important thing to have on your Rakan is Unstoppable. It's the power up. That way he moves around and stuns people. So they did nerf this power up, but you still want to take it because it just adjusts your Katarina's positioning to make it so that she focuses down units and reaches the backline a lot quicker. It's not necessarily because you care about the stun that much. Like obviously stunning people is good, but you mainly care about Unstoppable because it dashes your Rakan forward and then you move your Katarina up and then she could jump to the backline after 1 or 2 casts. Since she already critically strikes automatically because she's an executioner, you just want to focus on crit items. So Stridebreaker, Hand of Justice going to be the 2 key ones to use. Use Ryze as your extra executioner in the late game. Before Ryze, you could use stuff like Kalista. You could use stuff like Senna. Doesn't really matter. I kind of just use Kalista. I don't even want to waste gold on the Senna. And once you get Ryze, just replace it and then go with Ryze. Ryze is good because he also gives mana to your whole team, which is pretty nice. Helps Katarina cast a little bit faster due to the Mentor buff. But just do 2-cost reroll for this, nothing too complicated, like stabilize on stage 3-2, econ back up, slow roll at level 6 the whole game, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all there is to this comp. Concentrate power, so like Radiant and Artifact items, get her to 3-star with the econ items, and then if you have leftovers, just do whatever. Next comp up we have is Bastion Fast 9, so Bastion comp, it's just 6 Bastion plus legendaries. That's really all there is to it. Rom obviously is going to be the Bastion legendary, but for your carries, you could use Seraphine, Twist of Fate, but there are a couple of other options as well. For power-ups, you want Noxious Trap, Twist of Fate, and Seraphine with Mage. And then Seraphine's items are obviously flexible because she uses every single stat. Twist of Fate, you do want the Rage Blade. The other 2 items, I personally don't think they matter that much, but feel free to disagree with me. Like, obviously, some items are better than others, but as long as you have the Rage Blade, like, whenever I build legendaries, I try not to purposely build for them. I build items to help me survive in order to get to my legendaries later on. So with Twisted Fate, just play anyone who's a Rage Blade holder, and then find his other items later, or just, like, slam whatever you had slammed before. Like, there are a lot of different items you can use on him. If we go deep down this list, I guarantee you, like, the average placement, it doesn't change to, like, a crazy degree. Like, he could pretty much use a bunch of different items. You don't need 3 exact items on him. It's really just a Rage Blade. And then Seraphine's great, obviously, because, yeah, again, she uses any stat. You just really want the Shojin on her. So Rage Blade Shojin for this build, and then tank items. And then once you get the legendaries, you could tailor your items after that. So one thing you need to know whenever you do a Fast 9 is that you need a ton of money to do that. If you can't, the comp is useless, because the difference between 1-star Twisted Fate and 2-star Twisted Fate, same with Seraphine, or like only having one of them versus having both of them, is huge difference. So only play this if you actually have the resources to do so. So in the early game, if you get, like, I have the augments listed here actually, if you get like Hedge Fund, if you get Level Up, like, yeah, those are going to be really good for the comp, because you'll able to just supercharge your leveling and then find them 2-star. If you don't have those, you're probably not reaching level 9 unless you're doing a super win streak, and that's just not easy to do. And also, if you are super win streaking, you could pretty much play any comp and win the game. So you're not really doing anything that special. It's like, oh, if I'm born on 3rd base, like, yeah, it's pretty easy to get to home, right? So that's why you need to take the econ augments in order to get there. And then in the early game, any Rage Blade holder, any tank items on whoever. And yeah, I do talk a little bit about this in the how to play section, bunnymuffins.lol/meta for that. Easiest way to Fast 9 at the moment is to play win streak until 3-6, and then put in Crystal Gambit, double down, and cash out on 4-6. This is best done from 85 and above HP, and obviously that doesn't happen every game, but this is the best way to do it. But if not, you have to do stuff like take Hedge Fund and get to level 9 that way. Another important note about this comp is that you do not want to build utility items on this comp, because Noxious Fruit Trap on Twisted Fate takes care of all that for you. So you don't need Morello, you don't need like Void Staff or anything. He kind of takes care of that for you. Item priority, which is, again, one of the most important things, is Twisted Fate, then Frontline, and Seraphine, and then Braum. And also focus on making 3 items for 1 unit first, because 3 items equals 3 items. That's one of the laws of TFT that I cover in my TFT fundamentals video if you have not checked that out already. And if you haven't, on the homepage, I believe it is right here, where we talk about pretty much everything you need to know to play TFT. But other names of this comp is the Bill Gates comp, but this is the Bastion version. If we want to check out a different version of Fast 9, because they're very similar, you want to do the Juggernaut Fast 9. So this comp revolves more around Lee Sin. Lee Sin is super important, unlike Braum in the other comp. Like, Braum is still important, but not as much. But Lee Sin absolutely destroys people. So your win condition is Lee Sin 2, who is both incredibly tanky and deals a lot of damage, especially for single target damage, and that's the opposite of Twisted Fate, right? Twisted Fate is good at AoE, but Lee Sin helps you finish people off. But the comp here is just 6 Juggernaut, TF, Xayah, and then if you really want Braum, he's just there because he's a legendary and he's a luchador for the Mundo. But what I like to do is focus items on your Lee Sin. So that's going to be Infinity Edge, Sterak's, and Hand of Justice. So you could use melee item holders in the early game. I like using Nefiri at the very start. Do I list out stuff here? Yeah, Nefiri there. You could use Mecha Blades, Aatrox. For backline items, you could use Gnar and do the Gnar Mundo package, which has been very popular this set. Lots of ways to do that in the early game for the items. Tank items can go on Mundo or any Juggernaut, really. Doesn't really matter. And then what you want to do is play the same way you would play the other Fast 9 comp. So you need a lot of money, or you could do the win streak thing and then play Crystal Gambit, cash out on 4-6, and get like a very big gold lead. One really easy way to get that win streak, though, is to build Sterak's Gauge on Nefiri. There are very few units that can kind of deal with her. So in stage 2, Nefiri is just like one of the best units. After that, she's kind of one of the worst ones, but you know, everyone has their own time to shine. But now I know what question everyone is asking. When do I know whether I want to go Juggernauts or Bastion when I am doing a Fast 9? Like, let's say you got level up early, or you took AFK early in the game, and you're like, what do I go? Do I go Juggernauts or Bastion? Well, that's going to depend on both your items and the units you get in the early game. If you get a bunch of Bastions or Juggernauts, the decision's pretty easy, right? Because you could just play that and then eventually add on more Juggernauts or Bastions as the game goes on. Pretty easy to play that, right? But what about the items? So the backline items are more or less the same. Twisted Fate just has the same build, Rage Blade, Giant Slayer, and Hextech Gunblade. But Lee Sin's items are definitely much different than Seraphine's. So Seraphine is good if you have a tier. So if you have a tier, you can consider going the Bastion version. And if you just have a bunch of physical damage items or bruiser items, then you go for the Lee Sin. You want to slam items early to save HP, so whatever you build in the early game, that's going to decide what team comp you are going to go for. If you just have tank items, you could flex it a little bit, and then maybe decide maybe sometime in the middle of stage 3 which one you want to go to. It could also be like whichever 4 costs you see earlier, you could go for that one. So if you see Set first, or if you see Leona first, you could kind of be like, oh, maybe I'll go for Bastion if I get Leona. So those are the ways to kind of decide which ones to go for. It's a little tricky, but with practice, you'll be able to get it in time. So Kayle's good because Wraith got buffed a little bit. They essentially buffed for Wraith, so it's easier to get to level 9. And the Wraith build for Kayle is going to be the preferred way to play her now. Back in the day, at the start of the set, people played Kayle with a bunch of tank lines and then stacked Rageblade on her. But since Rageblade was changed, like, this new version of Kayle with the red buff is a little bit more popular, especially with the Wraith package. We can see here already 3-star Kayle with 3 items. If we type in like 6, for example, 6 Wraith is just the most popular version and the best performing version. And when you look at her items, it's going to be the Jeweled Gauntlet, mandatory on every Kayle build, to be honest, and then Giant Slayer, and then red buff over the Rageblade. You could also build Hat or even the Striker's Flail. I haven't seen too many Quicksilvers, but according to the data, it is playable. But pretty much the lesson from that is don't build Rageblade. Another thing that's good about this comp is that Varus and Jhin both got buffed. So it is a little easier to hit level 9 because Jin's like slightly stronger or whatever, because the Wraiths are stronger and also Sniper's a bit stronger if you play that in the early game. But the main guy is going to be Varus. Varus got buffed, so once you do hit level 9, he's going to be hitting a lot harder and act as like a secondary carry to Kayle. Zach going to be your main tank in the front line if you do get him to 3-star, which oftentimes you do, and then you play him with heavyweights with Poppy. You need Udyr for Duelist with Kayle, and then Cassante is another Wraith unit, so you want to pair up a protector with him. That's going to be Nico. Coincidentally, you get Star Guardian with Nico and Poppy, but you don't really care that much about that. That's more of just a coincidence. But for Kayle, if you get an early power up on her, over 9,000 is going to be the best. It did get nerfed slightly, but just the HP part, I believe. And then Double Strike is really good if you can't get that. Zach, you just want any tank, or Cassante any tank. And by the way, if you don't get Zach 3-star, it's not the end of the world. You could always use Cassante as your tank. In those cases, you don't really need to run Poppy, but you could if you want to. It could be literally any unit at that point. But just any generic tank, power up on either Cassante or Zach. And yeah, late game, Varus, Shojin, IE, Last Whisper, pretty standard build there. But this comp, again, is good because Wraith got buffed a little bit. If you ever get a lot of Kayles early and you get maybe gold subscription portal, like everyone's going to be fast 9ing, but you could also fast 9 with your Kayle. And oftentimes you could dodge a lot of hits and make it to level 9 a lot easier than you normally would in previous patches. That's kind of why this comp is pretty decent. It's not like a super insane comp by any means, but it did get buffed slightly, and it kind of matches with the other Fast 9 people. Next up we have is Malzahar Heavyweights. Since no one's playing the 5 Crystal Gambit Malzahar version anymore, or very few people are, I should say, Malzahar's kind of back on the menu. He did get nerfed a little bit, but overall, if you have an angle to do a 3-cost reroll, this definitely is a very viable option. So if you ever get Champion Duplicators, French Bench, or Pandora's Bench, Prismatic Ticket, things like that, then 3-cost reroll becomes really good. And this is one of the options to kind of play that. Noxious Trap on Malzahar is the go-to. Darius can use a bunch of different stuff, but 2 KO is pretty fun. And you still need a lot of econ for this, but it's different econ. So like all the Fast 9 comps, they want either experience or they want a lot of gold. This comp just wants a lot of the duplicators, or the things that give free rerolls. So econ is pretty good in this patch right now. It just depends what you get. Like obviously I'd rather do Fast 9 than play Malzahar, but we only get, what, 6 augment choices on stage 2-1, and there are like a billion augments in the game for some reason, and we have to memorize all of them before we press play in TFT. So because of that, you're not always guaranteed to get Hedge Fund or whatever Fast 9 generic augment that you want. So sometimes we get the reroll ones, and in those cases, well, maybe you have to choose like maybe Katarina reroll or like the Malzahar reroll. But again, this comp is really expensive. Blue buff on Malzahar. The other 2 items don't really care that much. Darius, IE, Sterix, pretty standard stuff. BT, Hand of Justice, anything like that is going to work on him. Standard tank items on Poppy, and yeah, this comp with 6 heavyweights burns a lot of time. Malzahar eventually gets his disease on everyone, and then Darius goes big whack, and then he resets. So pretty simple to do there. But yeah, the other comps, they are still playable. Again, at the top, like, I'm not saying don't play any of the B tiers, but they're very focused comps right now. Like, I think last patch we had like 10 or 11 comps in the SNA tier, but right now we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we also have the Drop Blossom Nico comp. So Drop Blossom Nico, we definitely need to talk about. If you ever see this augment offered to you, take it right away. Very easy to play. It's just 6 Protector, and then you add in Ahri and Ryze. Neeko's build is a little weird because of the Drop Blossom effect. You want Edge of Night. That's the best item on her, and then Jeweled Gauntlet and Titan's Resolve is pretty good. We could check out the Explorer tool here, teamfight.lol. We could type in Neeko, get her 3-star 3 item. And when we look at the items, like, yeah, Edge of Night, Titan's Resolve, Jeweled Gauntlet, Archangel's another option there, Bloodthirster another option. They're not like super static, like you could kind of swap them in and out a bit, but definitely go for the damage version because that's what you care about. You don't care about any of these tank items. Don't get fooled by them because they are just for different builds. It's not because it's bad, you just don't do it in Drop Blossom Neeko. If you ever get Radiant items, like obviously that's even better because whenever you're playing a hero augment, you want to concentrate all your power on, well, your hero. But for power-ups down here, we could do like Crimson Veil or Max Vitality on Neeko. Ahri, you want Double Down. Double Down is the one where you gain damage amp, and when the unit casts, your other powered up units gain 20% of the mana spent. So it's just a way to kind of buff up both the only 2 units you care about in your team comp. Leftover items can be Cassante. Ahri's items is just Shojin plus stuff that makes her cast more, so Nashor's is really good, and then Jeweled Gauntlet's just good because it complements Nashor's pretty decently. And again, since it's 3-cost reroll, high econ portal is preferred, but I mean, if you get Drop Blossom Neeko, the augment, like just take it almost no matter what. It is that good right now, and then you just have to hit. It's like most other TFT games, right? But yeah, Neeko is not a tank with this setup. Instead, she's a scaling carry, meaning we must build tank items on Cassante to stall for her ability to scale. Edge of Night is really good because it allows her to drop aggro. Titan's Resolve helps her stack, and then Double Down gives Neeko a lot of mana, which allows her to ramp up even faster so that she hits more and more of the board. Essentially, every time she casts, she increases the radius of her ability. But yeah, you pretty much win if you hit 3 stars. So yeah, just do whatever it is you can to get her to 3-star, and that's that. Pretty easy comp though, just stack Protectors, Malphite, Cassante, Rakan, Kennen, Janna. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. But again, you're pretty much going to try to play Mighty Mech as much as possible, even if it's contested. If you get reroll angle, Katarina. If you get insane good augment for econ, go any of the Fast 9 variants. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much what the patch is. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can. But for full tier list information, head on over to bunnymuffins.lol/meta. We update this as new comps come out. So like a lot of tournaments are being played right now. So if new texts come out, they will be updated on the website. I probably won't do a follow-up video next week like I normally do, just because it's kind of like the end of the set winding down. But if they B-patch, definitely it will be there. I don't know if they're going to be doing a B-patch. Like I've heard people complain, but because there's so many tournaments, I don't think they're going to be patching because they don't like doing that. But for all your data checking needs, head on over to teamfight.lol, pretty cool website that I am running, and yeah, lots of useful information there for like random stuff that you want to check out. Like I use it mostly for champion stats. I think it's like a very fast way to just get like a baseline power level for a bunch of different units. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.